All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fringe North podcast. I am very excited to be here today. My name is Garrett Ryan, he, him. I am with Artist Relations for the festival this year. I'm super excited to be here today with Luke and Gemini from House of Gore. And if you two want to introduce yourselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gemini Gore, she, her. I am a drag queen from Sault Ste. Marie and a part of the House of Gore, and I've been doing drag for 4 years now.
I'm Luke McAnally Gore Shadow, he, him, and also part of the House of Gore. And I've been doing drag for just a few months, less than Gemini, but I was helping out behind the scenes for a couple of years before I was on stage. So the 4 years is on stage, and about 5 or 6 I was behind the scene, like total 5 to 6 years.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm very interested to hear about that kind of transition from behind the scenes onto on stage. But before we get into all that, I'd love for both of you just to talk a little bit about the show this year. What can people expect to see at the festival?
We are bringing to the festival 4 or 5 performers total. The House of Gore has quite a few more performers, but in this case, for this format, we're sticking with our Canadian members. And there will for sure be myself, Gemini, Paris Gore, who's kind of our head of house, and my partner, Zephyr Shadow. For sure, it will be the 4 of us. We may have 1 or 2 surprise people pop up with us, but we're not quite 100% on that part yet.
Great. Yeah, so I'm curious then, because the House of Gore is sort of an established part. For transparency, I'm not from the Sioux, so I haven't been able to be a part of any previous House of Gore events or anything. So I'm very curious to know a little bit about the history and all of that. Like I'm coming in totally blind, and I want to hear everything. So it's a very broad question, but if you want to talk a little bit about the history and how you got to this point.
Okay, so I can start a little bit of how the House of Gore kind of started. And so it all started from our house mother, Paris Gore. She was originally from Toronto and did the drag scene there. And she was a part of a Halloween competition. And I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but if Luke wants to jump in, I don't know if they remember it.
I don't remember the name of the Halloween competition.
But, so she was doing that, and I think she won it. And then so when she stopped doing drag there, she decided to move back here. And I'm pretty sure she started the scene here with, was it the Scarlet Affair first?
The first House of Gore drag show was it was the year I was behind the scenes with Sue Pride. So I think that was the 2017 Sue Pride year, and Melissa Ringrose, who's one of our friends, she was helping set up the drag show for Sue Pride that year, and had contacted Paris. And there was no House of Gore at this time. It was just Paris. And then a performer named Lily Divine out of Kingston came up, and they did a drag show here as part of Sue Pride. And then after that, Paris said, so that was, I think we ran Sue Pride in September that year. I think it was in September. Anyways, it was in the summer or the fall. And then Paris says, let's do a Halloween competition. And so we did a Halloween competition. That was our first year of the Drag Me to Hell competition. And we've done three total, because there was, you won it, Crystal won it first year, you run it second year, I won it third year, and then we had the COVID pandemic. So we did the Halloween, and then in February we did the Scarlet Affair, which is our benefit for HIV and AIDS, the local HARP program. We donate all proceeds from that to them, and it just expanded. We found out that some performers in Sioux, Michigan were doing drag, so Paris joined up with them, and it exploded. It was really, we had a lot. We were doing 4 shows on this side a year, plus monthly shows in Sioux, Michigan before the pandemic. So it was there was a lot happening very quickly, and it seemed out of nowhere, didn't it, Jem?
It did, yeah, it did. I didn't even know that there was really a scene until I watched the first show, which was I think a show at Lop Lops, and it was when I think Felix and Crystal either came over for the I think maybe the second time.
No, I think that was that
The
first year. There was
time.
Felix and Crystal performing and Paris performing and Lily. I think that was 2017.
Yeah, I remember
That was that was the start. There wasn't a scene. That was the start. You were there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, wow, that's nuts.
Whew, that's great. Well, thank you for sharing that. So I'm interested. We were talking a little bit right before we started recording about sort of the developments in the last, let's say, decade in Northern Ontario, and especially Sault Ste. Marie specifically, of I guess like the establishment of Sault Pride, the sort of explosion of the drag scene. Can you talk a little bit about what the last 10 years has looked like in this realm of things in the Sault? Like what sort of changes have you seen in the city, in comparison to the decades preceding that?
I've only lived in the Sault for about 15 years.
Right.
So I don't have a lot to compare it to prior to when it started, right? And honestly, I wouldn't have been looking for a scene prior to the scene started. I had a friend that was kind of integral in starting a lot of the Pride organizations here, and I was in the closet and along for the ride. So I know there was nothing, but anything I could tell you would be secondhand. That
Right.
there was next to nothing. There was very little. I know you're born and raised here, Jem. You might have a little more, but I know you're not very old. So
Yeah. I can only really say, like, from what I've experienced growing up, being an LGBT person, like that's the only experience that I can give. I don't really know too much about like how the Sault Pride kind of like started and whatnot, but I definitely remember being in high school and even in elementary school feeling like I was gay and whatnot, and definitely hiding it and suppressing it a lot. But then surprisingly, I was out in high school, but it was definitely hard being here. So yeah, definitely I can see the changes in like the way that the youth here now are very able, I feel like, to be themselves. There's a lot more people on the LGBTQ spectrum, I feel like, especially with youth. Like you were telling me, Luke, that your kids have a lot of friends that like are part of that, and so I just feel like that's amazing to see.
it
Because
is.
I know when I was in elementary school, even in high school, I barely knew anybody who was gay. So I
There's
think that's great.
definitely more
like,
visibility. So you bring out my kids, there is more visibility, but I'm definitely going to say there's still a lot of work to be done. So I was at my daughter's grade 8 graduation last week, and very, very binary gender. The one of the presenters up there saying, looking around and seeing all the ladies in these lovely dresses and the boys in their handsome suits, and I'm sitting there with my non-binary partner, and we're just kind of going like, and thinking of the kids that might be non-binary there, or even just the kids who don't fit into the, my daughter wore a suit. So the kids that don't fit into that, look at all the lovely dresses on ladies. So it has come a long way that the kids are definitely talking about it, aware of it. I'm not from here, but I'm from another small town, and like the idea of a same-sex relationship, like I was aware that but I had no example for it. And I imagine it was much the same here, where it just it didn't cross your mind as a possibility because you didn't see it. So I think the visibility is good, but there's definitely still a lot of ways to go. But we're getting there.
Yeah, that's great that that those changes are happening. I agree. Of course, there's a long ways to go in a lot of ways in all throughout Northern Ontario. Like I think this is before we started recording. So I'm from North Bay, and I would say it's a very similar kind of progression. When I was growing up, there was people who were out, but it was a very slim minority of people. And even then it was like, you could be gay, but in a very quiet sort of way. And now when I go back, I see like it's like you were saying, it's people are kind of encouraged to be a lot more open in terms of different gender expressions, different expressions of sexuality, and seeing the development of pride and drag and things like that. It's been really nice to see. But yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done. It's a very nice thing to see, but it's definitely still in flux in the process of improving. But yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm very interested in both of your stories in coming into this scene. What led you? I know, Luke, for you mentioned at the beginning of starting behind the scenes and then getting on the stage. So I'm very interested in hearing about that. But I'd love to just hear from both of you. Like, what was the path that led you here?
Do you want to take that first, Jeff?
You can go first if you want. Yeah, you go first.
So I started out helping. Like I said, I had a friend that was pretty involved in the Pride scene, and I kind of was just along for the ride. And as that happened, I came into, knowing more about myself and learning more about myself and recognizing kind of where I fit and who I was. And I was helping out behind the scenes, and I kind of stepped away from behind the scenes, but I had stayed in the working behind the scenes. I'd actually become very good friends with Paris. Out of drag. Paris and I became very, very close friends, and I would help out behind the scenes, but not actively helping at shows. If like at one point I was helping behind the scenes at shows backstage, and then I kind of stepped away from that and was kind of just running like support whenever, Paris needed anything, she'd give me a call and I'd jump in and help out. And I'd go to shows and I'd, cheer everybody on, and Paris kept saying, someday you might want to. And I did theater a little bit when I was, in school and stuff. And I thought, you know what, there's something here. I need to explore this. And I just said, okay, let's give it a go. So I put on a very, very bad drag king face, and I hopped on stage, and I absolutely loved it. I loved performing. I loved the audience, the interaction, but more than that, I loved the connection with the other performers, the family that we formed. Being with that group of people, that little bit of self-exploration that I'd done I apologize. I forgot to turn my ringer off. That little bit of exploration that I'd done kind of behind the scenes, I was now doing it on a very public platform, exploring my sexuality, exploring my gender. In putting on the drag, I had to, look within myself and kind of find that, what masculine and what feminine and where do I fit in all of that. And the people around me, the other performers, just gave me such a safe space to explore myself. And so it's part finding myself and just being with myself and who I am, part this wonderful family, and then part being able to take what that family gave to me and give that to other people. So, whether it be an audience member or somebody who's like, hey, I want to perform, it's incredible. And I can't imagine not doing it. I found my partner. I'm getting married next month to a fellow performer.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, it completely changed my life. And it was just this weird progression that it was like, it's almost like a rabbit hole, right? You take one little step and you just keep pulling and going, and you never expect to end up where you do, but very happy that I did.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Aw, that's so cute. Okay. So my journey is a lot different. So
I think all of our journeys are different.
I wasn't working behind the scenes or anything, but I kind of formed a bond with drag, actually, with my mom. So she introduced me to the movie Birdcage when I was kind of little, like maybe 8 or 9. and I was like obsessed with it. And so once RuPaul's Drag Race started, we watched it together, the opening season, and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that someday. Like, I think I can do that. And so it was always something that's been in the back of my mind. And one day I was working, and Paris was in the makeup aisle with her friend, helping her friend out, and she was talking to me and whatnot, and we became friends. And then she told her other coworker that I was working with that, oh my God, that girl would be great in drag. Like, does she want to do drag? And then I got told that, and I was like, oh my God, yes, I do. Absolutely. Hello. And so Paris was like, great, you're going to be in this show. It's in 2 weeks. Get prepared. And I was like, perfect, let's do it. I was in that show. I did it. The crowd asked for an encore, which was amazing. I think I'll never forget that night. And yeah, ever since then, I've been doing it, and it's been amazing.
Was your first show Lop Lops, or was your first show at Zims?
My first show was at Lop Lops. It was
think
for
I
a
was-
Vegan 90s night. It was really fun.
I was there that night. Yeah.
Yes.
Mine was
it
at
so
Zims.
cool.
That's so awesome. I'm so glad for both of you to have found this passion and this this amazing group that I've been hearing about, this family. Yeah, that's so great. I just want to jump on something because theater is my forte. And Luke, you mentioned you had at least dabbled a little bit in theater prior to doing any drag. So I'm curious, what is the sort of transference from theater to drag? Because I know in my I went to York University for theater in Toronto, and quite a number of people that were in my program started doing drag. And some have gotten quite successful in it here in the city, and they're fantastic. So I see that kind of connection, and I'm curious.
So I'm going to preface this by saying my dabbling in theater was like a grade 6 production of like a Christmas Carol. Yeah. I was Marley. My mom is so proud of the picture. Oh, I was Jacob Marley. But I mean, you can look at it like, I mean, we could take like the historical logical approach, right? And we look at Shakespeare where it was always men in dresses, men didn't perform. And but let's be honest, we're not there anymore, right? We're not, women can perform, men can perform. The theater connection for me just comes from the love of performing, right? Being on a stage. I feel like being on a stage is being on a stage, whether you're singing, dancing, lip syncing. If you're on a stage, you're on a stage. Yeah. So I think that's part. If you pull in the backstage stuff, like the makeup and all of that, makeup is such a huge part of drag. And then like we do, if you come to the Halloween shows that we do, we often will bring in some special effects with that, special effects makeup, some stunts. So again, that all pulls, in from the theater. So it just, I feel like they just go hand in hand, exploring a character. And the main difference I would say is for me, and it may not be like this for everybody, but for me, drag is exploring an untouched on part of myself. Whereas with theater, it's more a character that somebody else has written. But I feel like if you're actually in theater, you're bringing yourself to that character anyways, right? Like you find similarities between yourself and the character and pull them out. And it's that putting on another face and being somebody else, being the best part of yourself, being the best part of somebody else's character for 5 minutes or 2 hours. I think it just, they go hand in hand, I think.
I think honestly being a drag queen kind of is, I done theater in like high school and stuff, and I feel like it encompasses a lot of what theater is. Like when you're lip syncing, you have to be emotive, you have to, if you're a dancer, you have to hit like that dance and be emotive still and express yourself. But it's also kind of telling a story too about what you're doing, because a song, when you listen to it, for me, I kind of always like to think of, okay, what are they singing about, and how can I make this into a little story or a little kind of moment to where the audience is like, okay, I get what they're doing and I know what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in terms of the emotion and the storytelling that goes into drag, I completely see that whenever I've been at a drag show, it very clearly comes through. It's a very different but equally valid form of storytelling. So it's really exciting, and it's really interesting for me as someone that comes from maybe the more kind of traditional side of theater to see this other expression and mode of performance and storytelling. Yeah, and I wanted to ask a little bit. Could you talk a little bit more about how your collaborations work? You talked about having a kind of a very large group. So how does that work? Is it sort of like and how frequently are these collaborations? Like how often are you doing shows together? Is it, you know, filtering in and out of people? I'm very curious.
That's an excellent question. I don't even know how to. I feel like it's such an organic happening. We've kind of got the core, right? Like there's the core House of Gore with some members in the States and some members here in Canada. We make the shows. People come to the shows, they connect with us, they say, you know, we'd like to try it. And when they are ready to actually try it, then they do, and then they, next thing you know, we adopt them and they're part of it. I don't know if there's an actual, like, it's just an organic happening. I know a lot of it is like, a lot of it happens behind the scenes with Paris. Paris is the main, like, she was the one that started it on this side. The House of Gore is named after her. So on this side, new performers come through Paris. Paris kind of gives them the okay to take the stage. She always encourages people to come to shows in drag. Send her pictures of yourself as you practice your makeup, as you get, you know, do different things. And when she thinks you're ready, then, you know, come on and we'll do a number on the stage. Prior to COVID, most of the auditions, I put that in quotes because that's kind of the best. It's not the most accurate word, but it's the best we have. Most of the auditions would happen in Sault, Michigan, only because in Sault, Michigan, there's less overhead for our shows. We tended to, we kind of had a home bar, which is no longer open, but before the pandemic, we had a home bar, and we would perform at that bar every month. So we didn't have any overhead, right? The bar gave us the space. There was no cover charge. So it was just kind of a relaxing, chill night where we'd perform and the audience was there. Here in Canada, we take care of everything, which is why we love this opportunity with Fringe North, because here in Canada, we do shows about 4 times a year. Prior to COVID, we're still not sure where we're going to land now, but before, we do shows 4 times a year, and we have to take care of everything. So we are booking the venue, we are procuring the sound, the audience, or not the audience, sorry, the advertising. That, like, we have to take on all of those, which is at our own financial, I say at our own, but it's at Paris fronts it all. So it's at that financial risk. So I want to say we're a little more guarded on newbies taking a stage in Canada, just because we've got people paying money to come. So we want to make sure that it's a more elevated platform. Now, another way newcomers can come in is the Halloween competition. That's a competition that we do, and we would love to have new performers step in and compete in that. That's because it's a competition, right? So versus a show, if that makes sense. But yeah, the collaborations, they just we've got a large cast, and when we get booked for a show, it's usually a matter of who's available, who would like a number in this one. Sometimes I only want 1 song because I don't really have time to practice more, or I'd like 3 songs. And it's just looking at who's available, who's had more stage time recently, who, you know, is kind of been waiting their turn for stage time. There's a lot that goes into it, but at the same time, it's very organic. It's kind of a contradiction, but it just
no,
it all works itself out.
Yeah, I'm curious. One of the things that I find so impressive, I guess, about drag is, you know, doing, if I'm working, let's say, like a more traditional theater venue, putting on a play, we have you know, people that are doing costumes, people that are doing sound, people that are doing choreo. It seems like you are really tackling all of that. So what is that experience like? And is there sort of is that sort of communal as well? Like if you have someone that is perhaps better with like sewing and costumes, someone better with makeup, is it sort of a crossover with skills, or is it like everyone learns everything and everyone is, you know, jack of all trades?
I would say that we all kind of learn from each other. Yeah, I think that we all have our own assets that we're definitely I guess more better at, or like more in like geared to, I guess you would say. But I think we all teach each other things. We all learn from each other, especially when I see other people performing. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could maybe work that in. Or I don't know how to explain it other than like when I see people, I always take in of what they're doing, and I always think of ways that either I can maybe use it or just learn from it. And in our house, I feel like it's always great to ask questions. We're never one to say no to a question or ever help anybody out. We're always right there, like, yes, here you go. Got it. You look great. Let's do this.
It's kind of like everybody does everything for themselves with help and support, right? So like, right, you make your own costumes, or you piece together your own costumes, but like you can call and be like, you know what, I need help with this. What is your suggestion? Or I'm struggling with this makeup look. Can you help me? Or so that's what the actual performance. And then the behind the scenes, it tends to be all just kind of, Paris kind of takes the lead and the rest of us just kind of hop in when we have, because most of us have day jobs. So Paris kind of takes the lead on the organizing, but we all kind of just tag team on that. And surprisingly, I don't think we get a lot of toes being stepped on. Felix, one of our American performers, headed the shows in the States this weekend. And again, like, so in this case, the Americans of the family took the lead, and they just asked us to come over, and we kind of showed up and helped out when we could, and hit the stage. And it's like, it's a dance, but it's so, I've never really thought about it. We kind of just do, don't we, Jeff?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I love it. It's all organic. That's great. It's just yeah, that's fantastic. That's a really healthy way of working, especially like in a collaborative kind of way.
If you are ever looking for a true behind the scenes look, we have been talking for years about how much we would love to have a bearded queen on our cast.
Oh, well, let's chat about that. You know, I wanted to ask as well. This is a question that's been done to death in other kind of other mediums, but in terms of the pandemic, where I live in Toronto, there was all throughout the pandemic, there was a house that was putting on drag shows outside, like in their driveway, which was awesome because it was like still people were still doing performance and art during a time where no one was really able to do that in person. So I'm curious, was there, what did the pandemic look like in your world in terms of like doing this kind of work? Was there a move to digital? I have no idea how it went. Yeah.
Did you, I know we did a lot of digital shows. I can't remember. Did you, I was really lucky at the pandemic. I lived with Paris. Paris and I were roommates during the pandemic. Now Paris and Jem are roommates. So that tells you how close knit we all are.
Yeah.
We did a lot of digital. We did two formats. We did live digital and we did recorded digital. We didn't have as many of them as we would like. We did house shows, like a few though. I think there's only a handful of house shows that we ourselves produced. We did a couple for the colleges, for Sault College or Algoma U. One of them we did a couple for. And I know a few of us hopped on to like other digital formats. Like it was an amazing opportunity to connect with others. Like I know Paris and I hopped on and each committed a couple numbers. There was a fundraiser for a king way down in the States who was dealing with breast cancer. So we hopped on and did like a fundraiser show where all of the tips went to that king, and expanded the community. But I'm trying to remember, Jem, I think you did one of the digital or two with the college,
Yeah,
right?
I think I only did one or two.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
It's hard. It's so hard because you don't get that audience feedback the way we do live.
But
Like,
yeah, I'm a performer. So once COVID hit, it really took a hit on my drag. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't even that, like, COVID kind of made me also redo my drag. Before COVID, I was kind of, my makeup wasn't all there. Like, it was fine, but it wasn't how I wanted it. I wasn't to where I wanted to be.
Right.
But so once COVID kind of, probably the year that it like was about to be ended, like I kind of took my drag on again, and I was like, yeah, now that things are going to start clearing up, I need to work on this and like really dedicate myself. And now I'm like so proud of myself because it's exactly where I want to be. And I'm just, yeah, I'm glad I get to perform again, and glad I don't have to deal with the COVID for now.
I
Hopefully-
remember you sending so many pictures into the group chat with like practicing your eye makeup and your different looks. Like there were so many. It was great. The one thing I did really like, in addition to meeting people from other places with the digital performances, is I would have never considered video as a medium. I just wouldn't have. It's one thing to have your live numbers recorded and share them out, but I took the opportunity. I did, I'm really proud of it. I did a couple different like actual videos. So it wasn't just lip syncing. There was like different shots and kind of put the video together. I did one for Johnny Cash's version of Hurt, and I brought in some special effects. Like I took out my heart and I stood there. And it's stuff that would not have been able to be done on stage, because like I did like the chest makeup. So it looked like I was stitching up like where I'd torn my heart out, but that needs to be done in a close-up, right? That doesn't project out through a stage audience. So I found that it was a good opportunity. And the same with you, Jem, like taking the time to hone your makeup skills and stuff. Like it gave us a chance to really, you know, explore new areas or perfect areas we were already in, which was kind of a bonus if you look for a silver lining, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to hear that you were both able to find so many great opportunities within the pandemic. That's great. I never thought about like using more of a video format. I think that's interesting, because especially with how contingent I think drag is on that sort of audience performer interaction. But there is sort of something interesting to explore in the video side of things as well. But yeah, that's great to hear that you were still at least active or doing some work on your craft. That's great. So just noticing the time, we're probably going to have to finish off very shortly, even though I would love to keep chatting. But just kind of as a closing off question for the people watching, what is your sort of quick, almost elevator pitch of why someone should come and see House of Gore at Fringe North? We've already talked about what they can expect to see. I'm sure they've already seen and heard plenty of reasons as to why they should come, but if you have anything else to share that might entice people to come by to this fantastic production.
Well, I think that they should come if they would like to see some beauty, some grace, and a great show. I'm definitely going to be twirling it out and bringing the house down as I usually do. So if they want to see some great lip syncing, some awesome emotions from people, some great costumes, definitely come see us. We're going to work it out and give you guys a great time.
Yeah. The only thing you nailed it. The only thing I'm going to add is it's one of the very rare opportunities to catch us at an all ages show. We only do a handful of those a year. And this is an opportunity for, you know, the people who aren't quite old enough to get into a bar to check us out. So you can bring your littles, you can come on your own. It's going to be a great event for everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Including straight people. We also like allies. We are not only for the LGBTQ plus community is the other thing. Some of our
everybody.
Right. Some of our biggest fans are the straight dudes in the audience. Honestly, yeah, we're for everybody.
It's if someone that is listening hasn't been to a drag show before, they're so much fun. Like it's I can't overstate how much just joy comes out of those performances. It's such a good time. So absolutely come by. And thank you so much for mentioning the all ages thing. I meant to say that. That's definitely something to note. That this is an all ages event. Everyone should come out and check out the show. It sounds like it's gonna be great. I'm so excited to come. So this will be at the Fringe North Festival from the festival's running from August 18th to the 21st. We'll have official dates and everything up on our social media and website soon. And tickets are going to be available to purchase from August 1st. And our new website is siouxfringe.com. So you can check out our social media, but if you want to see our new site, please come to siouxfringe.com for any and all information about the festival. We're going to have House of Gore and a ton of other incredible productions this season. So definitely come by and check them out. It's going to be fantastic. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the podcast. And thank you so much to Luke and Gemini. Is there anything else you would like to share before we finish off?
Thank you for
oh yes, go first, girl, go first.
Thank you for having us. That's all I had to say at the festival and on the podcast.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd also like to say thank you as well. And if anybody would like to find me at my socials, it's Gemini Gore at Instagram and Facebook. And you can find me on YouTube with Paris Gore, which is just Paris Gore and Gemini Gore. So check us out.
Great. Luke, do you have any socials you want to share as well?
I have Insta and I have Facebook, just Luke McAnally Gore Shadow. We also have just started properly maintaining the House of Gore, HAUSOFGORE on Facebook and Instagram. So every performer has their own pages. Of course, follow all of us individually, but follow our main page for your one stop of all upcoming shows and info.
Great. Thank you both so much once again. And thank you everyone for watching. We will see you next time.
Fringe North runs from August 18th to the 21st. This year, Fringe will be a hybrid festival, so there will be both in-person and digital offerings. To stay updated and learn more, visit siouxfringe.com. We are always looking for volunteers to help out in various areas. If you are interested in volunteering during this year's activities, email siouxfringe@gmail.com. Like what we're doing? Don't forget to tip the Fringe at paypal.me/fringenorth so that we can continue to help support artists, or e-transfer to siouxfringe@gmail.com.